Lieutenant Salachi. Are we ready to go here, folks?
I believe so, yes.
All right. We put this up here as a space holder. Okay. So I'm Sergeant Ray Kelly. I'm our Public Information Officer for the Alameda County Sheriff's Office. We've been managing the search and rescue side of this case in regards to Philip. Here is Lieutenant Eric Salachi with the Pleasanton Police Department. They're doing a missing persons investigation into this case. To my left here is Ron Seitz. He's our chief of our search and rescue program. He's been in that role, in that assignment for 45 years of experience in search and rescue, has worked all over the state, all over the country on different types of cases similar to this. We also have our volunteer search and rescue operations person from Marin County. Your name is?
My name is Kobe Bull. I'm a search manager with Marin County Sheriff's Office.
So we'll go basically over kind of what we went on today from the three different kind of perspectives: the emergency management, the operational side of the search and rescue part, and the police investigation as well that's going on in regards to Philip. So the family asked. We just met with the family. The family they're a lovely family, Philip's family. His parents are absolutely amazing people. Philip is an amazing person. If you know about him, he's an extraordinary individual, and that definitely, you can see that in his family. So they asked us to pass on to the community how much thanks, love, and care that they've received from the Pleasanton, Dublin community and the Tri-Valley area. They absolutely are overwhelmed with the amount of support that they've gotten. So this is a very difficult time for them. We'll explain to you what we explained to them during our meeting. But this has been a day 4, and with day 4, we have to work on probabilities. And so I'm going to hand it over to Chief Seitz with our search and rescue to talk specifically about what we've done, what we've covered, and why we are starting to arrive at some conclusions as to where we need to go from here.
Yep, thank you, Ray. So the monitor over here to my right sort of indicates the activities for the last 4 days that we've had. And to kind of give you, this is a good reference for scale to give you an idea of the coverage and so forth that we've had. So right now, to date, we've written 135 search assignments that we've put out in the field. Probably 120 of those are complete. And our goal is between the end of today and tomorrow to finish out the written assignments that we currently have. If we receive any additional clues or information that may allow us to write additional assignments, we will go ahead and proceed with that. Today, boots on the ground, there's over 120 searchers in the field physically. Yesterday there was 90. This operation scaled up from Saturday afternoon about 2 p.m. where there was about 40 personnel from Pleasanton PD, East Bay Regional Park Districts, Alameda County Sheriff's Office, and Alameda County Search and Rescue that were on scene starting about 4 o'clock on Saturday, which was about 2 hours after he was reported missing. So it was a very exigent response of personnel to try to get on this operation to locate Philip. A lot of it was based on the conditions of the days and so forth, and the heat due to the day. And search efforts continued on that night till about 1 a.m. And then we restruck at 5 a.m. on Sunday and scaled up from there from another additional 50 searchers that were here on Sunday to the numbers of 100 plus on Monday, and today's numbers of over 120. So we've really scaled up with that. We've had a lot of different resources here, from ground searchers to canine assets. We've had helicopters, we've had drones, we've had fixed wing aircraft, we've had e-bikes, we've had a ton of different resources that we've put at this operation and so forth. In addition to our efforts and so forth, there's been a tremendous response of local people to support Philip with regards to convergent volunteers that have been doing concurrent efforts with us where they're doing their own sort of operations and keeping us informed of their activities, which we are incorporating their information on the areas that they've searched into our search planning and so forth. So we're not excluding that data and so forth. So we're building the information with regards to the operation. So as we begin to sort of go into the next operational period for tomorrow, we're going to be doing what we call a limited objective search. So we're going to review today's assignments, what needs to be completed. We're going to do some review and scale back of looking at what has been done and sort of look for gaps within our coverage patterns to make sure there's no holes or any areas of significance that we may have missed that we can target on with that. We will still have assets here tomorrow. We will still have assets available and responding and available throughout the week from the different agencies if we turn up clues, information, and sightings and so forth. I can tell you that this is, in my career, this is an unprecedented search for Alameda County. Usually we get our subjects located within the first 24 to 26, 28 hours. Usually they don't last more than a day. So for us, this is a very difficult operation. It's unprecedented, and we're trying to kind of move forward to get through all this, to try to come to some conclusions on our efforts and so forth, as well as put together what we have with regards to where we can take the mission from here. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Kobe a little bit to talk about our operations, and he can point out some of the information on the mapping.
My name is Kobe. I've been the operations section chief here, assisting Alameda County for the past 2 operational periods. The past 2 operational periods you can see here on our map, we've covered a tremendous amount of ground from kind of the general area in close, as well as extending quite far to the south, out to the west, and up to the north. Like Ron mentioned, we have a tremendous amount of ground searchers here. I think in the past 3 days alone, we've had approximately over 260 personnel, including counties from all across the state. Yesterday, we primarily focused on extending our reach further out in these outlying areas, and today we've continued those efforts as well as searching further in close around what we believe to be his intended route. We still have teams in the field right now completing the last couple assignments, and as Ron said, we're hoping to get a good probably 85% of those done tonight, as well as some more prepared for tomorrow. So far our operations have been tremendous. We've had a great amount of personnel from search and rescue teams across the state who are primarily volunteer. So there's been a lot of hard work that's gone into this, and a lot of people involved as well.
So to Reader's Digest, the work that these do is very technical work, but we've left with basically 2 probabilities. One is that we're not finding Philip here in the terrain, and that he's incapacitated, he's not responsive, or he's not here. And so those are our 2 probabilities that we feel that when we look at all of the different contingencies and the assessment of the entire operation over the last 4 days, we've come to 2 conclusions: that he's either incapacitated within the search zone and we can't find him, or he's not here and he's somewhere else that we don't know about. So that's kind of what leaves us at. And so as a result of that, we're going to be a little more strategic. But to show you the level of searching that we're doing and that's been done out here, is that we're actually finding watches, we're finding sunglasses, we actually today found some blood on a rock that we sent immediately over to our crime lab. That we were able to analyze that blood and determine that it was not human blood, it was animal blood. So that's the level of detail and sophistication that we've gone into over the course of the last 4 days. So when we begin to find things like watches and blood droplets on rocks, that shows you the amount of searching we've done. And I don't think that you could have been up on the ridge today and not heard somebody yelling, "Philip, Philip, hello, help, are you there?" So we numerous times crossed paths with other search teams, with community member volunteer teams that were out there, covered it with our drones, on foot, through the air, and went down in the areas that had to be searched by foot and hand. And once again, there's still a few areas that need to be checked, but we've done an exhaustive search over the last 4 days. I think the rest of the questions in regards to the what ifs and what could be, have to be answered by the police department. And in that regard, I turn it over to Lieutenant.
Good afternoon. I'm Lieutenant Eric Salachi, Lieutenant in charge of investigations. As you all know, just kind of recap, Saturday late morning we received a call asking about the whereabouts of Philip. And shortly thereafter, we had officers on scene and located his vehicle at the Muller Ranch staging area. From there, officers began doing their initial investigative steps, and we located a number of items inside of Philip's vehicle, and we quickly ramped this up into a full-on search with the assistance of Alameda County's search and rescue, along with other outside and allied agencies in the area. And we wanted to take a moment to thank all of the agencies present today, yesterday, and from the beginning of this incident. From the very beginning of this incident, this is a missing persons investigation. We have had our criminal investigations unit, along with all of our detectives, working this case. This is their primary assignment at this time. We are continuing to work that investigation. As Sergeant Kelly said earlier, we have two possible scenarios at this point, and one is Philip is up there somewhere in those mountains. Or number two, he parked his vehicle and he is somewhere else, his whereabouts unknown. At this time, we're asking for the public's help. If you saw Philip, if you saw him parked, driving, maybe even before this incident, an hour or 2 hours, sometime that morning, if you could please contact the police department, the Pleasanton Police Department. We will be putting out an updated press release later this afternoon with an updated contact information on where you can provide information on this incident. That's all I have for right now.
We'll go into questions in regards to the search and rescue. I know you'll have questions about the investigation part of this as well. So any questions that you have, we'll take them.
How many acres do you think you've searched thus far?
Ron, would you know?
It's hard to say. It's a pretty large area going from the area of 580 on the south, being bordered by Foothills Road here, and then Niles Canyon and 84 to the south, and then a little bit of Palomar's Road down here to the east. So it's a pretty decent chunk of area. Unfortunately, I don't have an acreage off the top of my head.
Yeah, I think from our analysis when we were doing our search planning in the areas that we were planning around, now this is not where actually teams have been physically, because there's places that they just can't access, or places that are way open space that you can see without having to go into a deep area because there's no trees, there's no canopy, it's just wide open range space. But I think one of our calculations was about close to 16 square miles.
And, you know, we have, Philip was a ultra marathon runner. He loved to run, and so he was very systematic in the way that he did that sport, and he plotted and mapped out his routes. And so people who are runners understand that, you know, you have a defined route and then you try to accomplish that run in a certain amount of time. So we have an idea as to where and what he was intended, his intent was, what we believe, on that run. And that entire area of about 8 miles of a run has been heavily searched as well.
Are any of those areas suspect to falling off a cliff or anything like that you just described?
So yeah, a lot of the area and so forth, if you're not aware, you can slip easily off a shoulder of a ridge line and so forth. But also understand that the park trails and a lot of the major thoroughfares don't really come close to those areas. So that would be where if there was an attempt for him to try to do anything cross-country where he may encounter that.
If he went off his defined route, then we get into those questions about could have, would have, fallen or slipped. But if he was staying on his defined route that we have, then the likelihood of that would not be as much that could happen, per se. It's just not, the defined run route is more groomed, more manicured trail that's has less objects and navigation issues.
Was he wearing a T-shirt or did he leave it in his car at the time?
At this point, we found a T-shirt in his car, so we don't believe he was wearing a T-shirt. What we do know is we know the type of shoes he was wearing. We found out through some of his friends as well as Strava, and we know that he was wearing some sort of shorter length, dark colored shorts. But we don't know the exact, if there was a shirt, or if so, what color it was.
Any idea if he was wearing like a vest of some sort where he could hydrate himself or had any water on him?
Unknown.
Yeah, unknown. There is water out on the trails. There's spots out on the trails where you can get water, and there are also big troughs where there's livestock up there that go drink off the water. There's big tubs of water up there as well. So, that you would eventually come across at some point or another if you were staying on the main trails up there.
Can you use the Strava app to find him?
So, I'll let Pleasanton answer that.
So in the initial stages of the investigation, we did locate Philip's cell phone inside of his vehicle. Philip has also been known to wear a sport smart watch, if you will. That particular model of watch that we were told he wears and uses on these runs does not have GPS capability if it's not with his physically with his phone. Therefore, we don't have any sort. He is not wearing a GPS-enabled device at the time when he went missing.
We'll go one more. Any questions in closing here?
I know you said that this was unprecedented, but when was the last time you guys ever had to go to this park and look for someone in this particular
Can you go to
park?
the microphone?
Yeah. So people don't typically get lost in Alameda County, one, because it's not a very wildernessly based area. Our typical parks for response are Seminole Regional Park and Del Valle Regional Park. Both of those are much more rugged, much more heavily terrained. This park, being a local sort of what I would call community or inner city park, because it's surrounded by a lot of community and inner city, is a very heavily traveled park by park visitors on a regular basis. There's hundreds of people that come here daily to recreate and so forth, and thus making it hard for anybody to get lost, because if they're disoriented in any way or they've sort of lost their way, there's usually somebody from the public who's familiar with the park that can assist them. So it's very, very hard to get lost here.
Mountain lions? Is there any?
Yeah.
I know it's speculation at this point.
No, there are mountain lions up here, and we did come across some deer carcasses, and there was a sheep up there that we saw that was either coyote or mountain lion, likely prey. That was kind of in a one general area where it seems like that activity might have been taking place, and it looked like, in talking to some of our search and rescue experts that are aware of mountain lions and animals like that those animals were eating, and that they had their own areas where they had prey and game. We also, with our air assets, we've been able to at night see deer, small game, get those heat signatures. So we're pinpointing down to small animals out on the ground, up on the ridge. I mean, that's the level of detail that we're seeing. So we're just having a hard time at this point in saying that we can locate Philip at all.
And that was on the first night of the study.
It's been done for 4. It's going to be 4 nights tonight. So it's been done for 3. It'll be 4 tonight. So not to mention the drones that have been going out and covering large areas and moving with their vehicles and then setting up the drone again and then flying another region. That's been done, and we have hundreds of hours of video of that as well, 4K quality, which will allow us to then go back, analyze, look at that footage to see, are we missing anything? We can literally, with that 4K quality, just go into extreme detail and easily, obviously, be able to see a human form on the screen.
So I think you mentioned the plan tomorrow is going to be reassess everything that you guys have covered and look at anything that you may have missed. When comes the period sometime this week or in the future where you guys say, we can't find it?
It'll be a combination. It'll be a concerted effort of discussion between all the stakeholders, ourselves, Pleasanton Police Department, East Bay Regional Park District. So it'll be a unified decision when there's a time when we absolutely are leaving this area.
And just to make sure, can you give us your full name and spell it out for
Yeah,
us?
so Ron, R-O-N, Seitz, S-E-I, T as in Tom, Z as in zebra.
And there's also the community search team, right? And so we're never going to dissuade them from continuing their search and their mission if they want to continue to go out. It doesn't upset us in any way. It doesn't bother us if they want to go out and find Philip. And if they find him, great. We'll even be so happy that we find him. But at some point we have to look at the probability scale, and it's starting to come down to those 2 issues that we explained.
And can you say and spell your name?
My name's Kobe, Kove, last name Pole, Pole.
Eric, E-R-I-K, last name Silacci, S-I-L-A-C-C-I.
Okay, any more questions from our partners?
Question on this, Chief?
No, Lieutenant.
Lieutenant? Yeah. Any more questions from our partners? Okay, so if you want to check back with us tomorrow, this will be the last briefing of the day. Pleasanton will put out an updated press release, probably say a lot of the same things we just told you. But tomorrow will be another search day, probably not to the same level of scale that we were at today.
And if you want, you can feel free to come up and get close-ups or whatever, the search mapping to kind of give you an idea of what the efforts are.
Ron, forgive me your title again?
I'm volunteer chief of the Alameda County Search and Rescue.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. You can shut that off.